So welcome participants and guests who are presenting today to our virtual circle, Braiding Traditions, the influential role of Indigenous knowledge keepers in the provincial education system. So we're very, very honored to have Canadian Rockies, along with respected elders from community who work closely with Canadian Rockies and their home fires to be joining us today to help guide us all as educators in our learning. Today, my name is Crystal Clark, and I'm from Treaty 8 area, right from the north. I'm in Treaty 6 right now. I'm not going to talk about myself because I'd rather start this session in a good way before we get into the knowledge that's going to be shared. Nadine Dack-Doi, sorry, from Canadian Rockies is going to start our session in a good way by offering protocol to the elders that are joining us today, and they'll start us off today.
Ishnish, Crystal, thank you so much. I am honored to be here for Bridging Traditions, the influential role of Indigenous knowledge keepers in provincial education systems. I am really grateful to work with some very knowledgeable knowledge keepers. We have knowledge keepers that are with us. I would like to acknowledge Ollie Benjamin, who could not be with us today. I would like to start off with offering a gift of tobacco, first of all, to Philomene Stevens, who is a knowledge keeper from Stoney Nakoda Nation, who has expertise in plants, herbs, and traditional medicine. Ishnish, Philomene.
Thank you. Yes.
I would also like to offer a gift of tobacco to Virgle Stephens, who is a proud member of the Stoney Nakoda Nation, who has an expansive knowledge of truth and reconciliation and many traditional ways of life, who gifts us with them on each and every day. Ishnish.
Thank you.
I would also like to offer a gift of tobacco to Tracey, who is a wonderful knowledge keeper from the Stoney Nakoda Nation, who is a master beater and very fluent in the Stoney language. Ishnish. Ishnish, Crystal.
Thank you for offering that protocol to start our time together. And if one of your knowledge keepers would also like to start us off in a good way before we begin our presentation, would you be okay with asking that, Nadine, on your end?
I would be honored. Virgil, would you start us off with a prayer?
Oki, Yamikskanatani, Adanasara, Ambawastich, Panchi, Ponce, bonjour, hello. My name is Diane Rolson, and I'm so pleased to be co-hosting with Crystal this afternoon and able to acknowledge the land. And Ishnius, Virgil, beautiful blessing, prayer, and Philomene and Tracey and Nadine, to each of you for being here today. So I offer greetings today in the languages of the First Peoples of the place where I was born and where I live today. Mokinstis, the Blackfoot word for elbow, the place where the Bow and the Elbow rivers meet. And I've learned that the Tsuut'ina name for Calgary is Gutsista, and the Îyethka Stoney Nakoda name, I believe, Wichishba. I'm a white settler with Icelandic and French roots and a visitor in this place. And I am currently working as a leadership consultant with CAS, the College of Alberta School Superintendents. And CAS is really about supporting the learning of superintendents and district leaders throughout the province. And I just feel so fortunate that over the past 12 years, I've had opportunity to learn from many elders and knowledge keepers, particularly during the 34 years that I worked with the Calgary Board of Education. And they taught me how important it is to acknowledge the land where we gather and the First Peoples who traditionally lived here. And what they taught me and us is that when we do so, we show respect for people, their contributions, and their ways of knowing, which are reflected through the stories and songs that have lived on this land for thousands and thousands of years. And I carry these teachings with me every day. My dear friend Îyethka from Ghana, Marlene Yellowhorn, shared a teaching that her grandfather shared with her. And what he taught her was that a land acknowledgement is not something you do, it's something you feel. And so I think about that also every day. And some of what I am learning to feel and get more in touch with is how greatly I have benefited from what was taken from Indigenous peoples. And Dr. Verna St. Denis is someone who has taught me so much. And she's an anti-racist scholar. And one of the things that she has taught me is that we need to face and acknowledge this truth, the truth of land being cleared, so that some of us could live a good life. And I'm committed to learning more about this truth and the great benefit that I continue to enjoy in this place that I call home. And so I am committed to working each day to build my literacy in anti-racism. And I'm sharing that commitment with you because my friend Lori Pritchard, who is Métis and Ukrainian, has said, anytime we acknowledge the land, we must also share a commitment to action. So as we begin, I share the acknowledgement of land from CAS as a provincial organization. And I acknowledge that we collectively are on traditional territory, gathering grounds, meeting place, and traveling route of the Treaty 6 First Nations, the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Dene, and Nakota Nations. Treaty 7 First Nations, the Blackfoot Confederacy of the Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani Nations, the Îyethka Stoney Nakoda Nation of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney Nations, the Tsuut'ina Nation, and Treaty 8 First Nations of the Cree, Denetha, Deneja, and Danusulina Nations, and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have shaped this land, and those of the present and future who will continue to shape it for centuries to come.
Thank you. Thank you for that heartfelt land acknowledgement, Diane. It is very much appreciated how you acknowledge the land from your heart so deeply. Much appreciated. And Philomene Stevens, Ollie Benjamin, Tracey Stevens, Ollie Benjamin, who couldn't be here today, Tracey Stevens, Virgle Stephens, and Nadine Dack-Doi for being with us today as well, and for the Knowledge Keeper who opened up to this webinar in a good way. Much appreciated. And right now I would like to invite all the participants who are online today or who may be watching this later, I'd like to invite you into a circle with us here today, and you're going to have to use your imagination. So I know you're looking at a photo right now of a fire with rocks encircling it, with a sunset or a sunrise in the background with the trees and a teepee. So I'd like you to imagine that we're all here in this space within the picture together, and we're gathering in a good way, and you're finding a space around the circle. Maybe you brought a comfy chair, maybe you prefer standing, maybe there's somebody you'd like to sit next to. So you're going to imagine you're in this space, and we're here to learn, connect, and build relationship together. And as we settle in, we're going to reflect in a space beyond where we are right now. Most of us are probably in a building, a square space. So we want to imagine we're beyond the screen and beyond our office space, so that we can virtually as well try to connect with the land around us, even though we're not actually within this space together. For me, it's a good process to visualize that we are outdoors together on the land. So land is what brought us all together and will continue bringing us together. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a visualization activity through a soundscape, just to help us connect further and deeper with the land through our imaginations. So we're going to do a land connect. We're going to bring the land to us. This is a moment for you to connect with the natural world through sound and through the image presented today. So we're going to imagine we're near a peaceful, serene place. This one is a gentle stream. And I'd really like you to take a moment to breathe deeply in. Imagine we're breathing in the fresh air. We're connecting with the sounds of the natural world, with the air, with the water. Take a moment to slowly breathe in through your nose and exhale through your mouth as we take about a minute or less to connect with the sounds of nature and bring us to that place of peace that the land might bring you. So we felt it was important to take time to, with our imaginations, connect with the natural world. Often in Indigenous education, we are often in square spaces and office spaces and classroom trying to do the good work, sharing our worldview, our ways, but often it can be challenging to do the pedagogy, the way of teaching, which is, being on the land, connecting with the land, bringing us together to that space and acknowledging the land and how it provides for us and how it connects us to each other. So I always find it helpful for myself to take myself to that place throughout the day, especially if I'm feeling overworked in an office or classroom setting space. So this graphic that you see before you has the tree in the background. It's looking up the perspective upwards towards the sky through the leaves of a birch tree. And there's a graphic of birch bark with relationship at the center and several leaves surrounding it. So this graphic comes from one of the initial pieces of work that was created and built upon to support education leaders. And this can be found within a digital guide to relationship and learning with Indigenous peoples of Alberta, which CAS created several years ago. And it can be found online if you haven't accessed it already. And this was a starting point to support superintendents and leaders in education. And Rogan has shared the link to this site. So this was a starting point in a way to support leaders in educations at whatever entry point they were with working with Indigenous people. And so the birch tree was chosen in particularly, and the leaves were chosen from a tree to help guide people through the content that was being shared within each leaf. So when you click each leaf, you go to a certain foundational knowledge level topic. And so the birch tree was chosen as the concept for the guide to remind us of our deeply rooted connection to the natural world. We're all related, or a Cree word that describes that is Wakodwin. And I know the Stoney language would have words for we are all related as well. Being that I'm Cree, that's the word I'm using right now. Trees are our relatives with roots. A tree is often used as a symbol of holistic learning models that redefine or define how success can be measured within our Indigenous education circles. The birch bark tree, like many other trees that are Indigenous to these lands, are used for ceremony, medicine, shelter, food, transportation, art, tools, for cooking, construction, and for our survival. The birch tree's legacy represents our connection to each other, the land, language, our lives, our spirituality, our traditional engineering and sciences, our cultural education, and our worldview. Trees ultimately connect each and every one of us to each other through our shared breath. We share breath, and the tree helps provide that breath that we all share each day. The symbol of the tree reminds us that although we may often be stuck behind our computers or in our square spaces, it's important to acknowledge and connect with the land in a good way. So this site was developed at its first stage was in 2019. It was updated in 2022, and it will continue to grow as we move forward within this important work. Everything is growing out of the guide and the birch tree. The leaves with the emphasis on the importance of building and maintaining relationship. So the guide was designed as a starting point or an added resource for leaders for both their personal learning and their leadership actions. It offers an introduction to foundational background knowledge and will continue to grow like that of a tree being nurtured. The guide is like a branch, a leaf, and it's only a small part of the bigger picture or the whole tree. And it's only a small piece of the forest. The leaf connects to the branches, seeds, bark, trunk, roots, and all that nurtures and sustains and connects us. It's used to help activate and or support the building of the work that we do together. The intent of the site, again, is only a small piece at building, fostering, and maintaining relationships with First Nation, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Relationship includes our relationship not only with each other as people, but our relationship with the natural world. The tree now has grown, and we have added leaves beyond the leaves that you see here, which Diane will talk about in the next slide.
So in keeping with what Crystal has shared and in the spirit of strengthening relationships, which is the focus of the webinar today, we just wanted to briefly highlight 3 additional resources with you. And you'll find these links too in the chat. Thank you, Rogan. And we just wanted you to be aware of them and encourage you to explore them. So one of them is a virtual circle with 4 elders that Crystal and I co-hosted last spring. And they shared teachings also about how to build respectful and reciprocal relationships. And we'll be posting this webinar in a similar way. And then the other two are leadership guides, and you'll see one leaf there that says Education Service Agreements. And I just wanted to highlight that briefly. So ESAs, as they are also known, are agreements between First Nations and provincial schools. So sometimes students living on reserve attend a provincial school, and then sometimes also students living in the city attend a school on reserve. So that's when they would come into place. And I was asked to create a digital resource related to ESAs. And so I sought the guidance of those who are part of the Cass, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit Education Action Committee, made up of a number of leaders throughout the province. And they had a lot to say. And so what this resource includes is their heartfelt and very honest guidance. They shared their knowledge and wisdom with great love for the students and communities they serve. So you will find two video series as part of this. One is with Bill Shade, who's the superintendent of Stoney Education Authority, where he offers very honest guidance to provincial school leaders. And the other is a story with Tsuut'ina Nation, Calgary Board of Education, Rocky View Schools, and Calgary Catholic School District, where they share their story of the ways that they have been working together over time to support young people. So with that encouragement to explore some of these leaves on these branches, we now invite you to learn. And I'm delighted to invite you, Nadine, to introduce and invite the Knowledge Keepers. So Philomene, Tracey, Virgle, and Ollie, who I know was here with us in spirit, just not able to be with us today. We're delighted to learn from you. Thank you. Ishnias.
Ishnish, Diane, thank you so much for letting us share our story. And it is one that we have had the opportunity to develop over, this is our 9th year together. And it started as us having coffee in the office when I was the principal at Exshaw School, and seeking the guidance of the Knowledge Keepers as to how we could have more community involvement and really seeking voice. So what we are going to do, as you've met our wonderful Knowledge Keepers, what we are going to do now is go into our presentation, and we do welcome questions all throughout. So if you have any questions, please just pop them into the chat, and we would love to answer just in real time any questions that you do have. So without further ado, we are going to start sharing with you just the true influential role that the Indigenous Knowledge Keepers have had in especially our system of Canadian Rockies Public School Division. Now, one thing that we have noticed is that for us, protocols are essential, and the Knowledge Keepers have been guides and stewards of protocols. And you will notice we started with the protocol of offering tobacco. When you go into any of our schools, whether it's in Elizabeth Rummel School, which is a K-3 school, or Canmore Collegiate High School, which is our 9 through 12 school, you will see that our students always offer a gift of tobacco to build a relationship with our Knowledge Keepers. This builds connection, and everybody feels comfortable with doing that. And thanks to the guidance of our Knowledge Keepers, everybody is comfortable with doing that. And that is in a year and a half would you say? Yeah, a year and a half. And everybody throughout our district does that. And it's from students all the way through our board of trustees. Any meeting that you see, that happens. And another protocol that they were key in actually encouraging thought process was our land acknowledgement, and it was a co-creation. So I would like to share what our land acknowledgement is, and then have one of our wonderful knowledge keepers speak about the change and the nuances of it. So our land acknowledgement is as follows. Canadian Rockies Public School acknowledges that our school division sits on I can't even speak today, ancestral and traditional lands of many North American Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are with us today and those who have gone before us. Virgil, would you do us the honor and explain?
Thank you. We created this land acknowledgement just recently. We learned from our ancestors. I want to talk about one of our ancestors. Some of you might heard of him, a walking buffalo, George McLean. How we created the land acknowledgement, we used some of his words. He traveled the world in the late 1950s with a Sutina person and a few other community members. And on those trips, he said, North America is a land of indigenous people. So that's why we use North America in our land acknowledgement, because we represent indigenous people of North America, not just our communities. We represent indigenous people across Canada. And we decided to change that way because we are connected in a way. Nature was our source for so long. To this day, it still is. And our young people need to know about those things. History is important. We grew up in our traditional ways. We also were told you have to go to school. And that's important too. That is why we agreed to help Canadian Rockies School Division to build a relationship with the school so our young people can get their education. Education is important. And we have to let the young ones know their identity. That is important too. I mentioned history. Thank you.
Ishnish, Virgil. What was really important as we went on this journey is there is one quote that always guides us. And the quote that has been very important to us is there's no learning without collaboration. And our knowledge keepers guide us every step of the way. There's continual communication amongst us at all times, to the point where we were visiting just prior to the meeting, and I said to Virgil, you know, at times it's probably to the point where I irritate you because I'm asking questions all the time. But we are communicating all the time, and we really do collaborate a lot in order to learn. And that is very important. And when we began this journey, it is all about understanding. And we need to continue to communicate to build those relationships. And as I mentioned when we first started our webinar, is we have a relationship now of, this is in our 9th year. So the Knowledge Keepers, we began having tea in the office and talking about barriers for our students, and how we could support the students in attending school more frequently, and what we could change differently within the school so that attendance was better and we could support families and students in a much stronger way. So as a school division, and our superintendent is very much in the forefront of supporting our students in every possible way, we began to form those relationships. And it was a true wraparound approach, from calls, texts, and emails from administrators, counselors, success teachers, teachers, home visits from the Knowledge Keepers, and documentation from the school and the Knowledge Keepers in order to look at how we could support our students and families moving forward. So we continued to do that. And then we were, as a team and a true wraparound approach, what we continued to do so was we were motivated by Murray Sinclair's quote of, education is what got us here, and education is what will get us out. So we just then became even more, the fire was lit even further. And our superintendent, again, was behind us with looking at how we could support our students all throughout the district. So there was a position that was created as the Indigenous Service Coordinator. And then we began some very key work with our students, all our Manipni students all throughout our division. And we began to create a protocol for accessing Knowledge Keepers throughout the district. And this protocol aligned very clearly with curriculum objectives so that all teachers throughout the district could access Knowledge Keepers. And through that, our students, both Indigenous students and non-Indigenous students, learned about a variety of topics. Everything from teepees, Indigenous stewardship of the land, traditional government, Stoney culture, traditional herbs and plants, Indigenous sports and games, learning about beading, Indigenous storytelling, being able to actually tan a buffalo hide, smudging practices all throughout the district. And these are things of just a few of the things that we were able to accomplish. So each of our Knowledge Keepers now is going to speak about one of these things specifically. So I'm going to turn it over to Tracey, who is going to speak about the attendance awards at Exshaw School.
Hello, good afternoon, friends. Like my brother has mentioned, we have grown up very traditional ways, so and I'm proud of it. And yes, we do. When Nadine first contacted us to get families involved and get the students have more attending school. So in our culture, as a young girl, my mother, when I accomplished something, and even with my brothers, she always makes some little gifts for us so we can know we have accomplished something and we look forward to what we can do next. So that's how we started with the attendance awards with the students. And in the beginning, there was only 4 students that have 80% attendance. And then when the students seen what we were giving out, The next 2 months, oh wow, we had to make 30 attendance awards. Just 4 at the beginning and then just jumped up to 30. That was, we know we did something, we were doing something right. So now with going on our 9th year, like Nadine said, we still make attendance awards 40 a month. So sometimes we sleep after midnight when we do those. So, but it's important to us. Like I've mentioned, when we accomplish something, it makes it you feel good in here. So you can do something more, then you can challenge yourself something more. So that's what we wanted the students to feel, and that's what we continue, and we're going to continue doing that. Ishnish.
Ishnish, Tracey. Philomene, could you share some of the beading that has been done at Alpenglow School and also Stoney language, how it is being taught throughout the division?
Yes. On our stage, we at the schools, we the language. And, okay, that the very we started off with teaching, learning about the days of the week, the months. We started to, and the 4 seasons. We put that excuse me, in our Stoney. Now we have alphabets that's in place in the 70s by the elders. But so we work under that with the alphabets, and that's how they learn to count our numbers and the words, like the school, what the school is called, and what every, like. Now, when we go into the classroom, everybody will say, Ambawa States, Do Kenya on. It means good morning, or how are you doing? They'll really look forward to that, to learning their language, and they're really interested in that, because we are fluent in our Îyethka Stoney language, and at the community school, we are part of that dictionary that in Stoney, that we're on the fifth volume it's almost completed, which is going to be in the curriculum. And that's through that we teach that, and the children are so they make things, and then we teach crafts too. We go to the outdoor learning center, and that's where we teach them how to make little things that can be done within that time, like in 20 minutes, half hour. They really look forward to that. The students, that's from kindergarten to grade 12, when they really enjoy doing that. And then they know, the students from our community, when they know that we are there to support them, that they'll really look forward to being there and learning more. And as time goes by, like this is our really being in class, this is our 2nd year. They said we've completed our 2nd year, but the non-Indigenous students are the ones that are really interested in it and wanted to know lots and more about it, and they get really excited about it. And some of them even talk to us, greet us in Stoney, and that through that we know that we're making progress. And the school board have we really work along with them, and that makes a big difference. And we visited homes too in our community. As we all know, before, when a white person comes, the Indigenous community, when they come to the residence, everybody will disappear, and they'll put one person, you go and speak to them. That's how it was before, and which is still now. But when they see us, they open their doors and they let us in. And then through that, the attendance has been a lot of people. They know that the community, the parents, that we get, it's okay, you can talk to, you can talk to my child, it's okay, or you can sit. And we have encouraged them to come to the school. And that's how we made a big difference in our Christmas concert, in our gatherings, opening day of school. the gymnasium will be, will be really full, and they'll be standing all around too. So that's through that we have really helped within our community and the nearby communities, like especially here in Kenmore. We know most of the, even when we go out in the street, they'll say hi to us. They know who we are, and that makes it, we feel good about that. We get along with them, and they know what the students are in school. They know what we're doing, and about our smudging, our traditional, our customs and all that. We teach that, and about the plants too. We go out and we teach them about the plants, what we use, because the forest, that's our pharmacy. So we let them know that we use those plants, and some of them is our food and all. It's so wonderful. We do the very best we can to we present our culture. Isnish.
Ishnish, Philomene, and it is to the point where knowledge keepers are like celebrities walking down Canmore. They actually do, a lot of our students actually stop them in the street, and it is like family, which is wonderful. Virgil, would you share what's happening in Banff with Truth and Reconciliation and with the Stoney language throughout?
Yes, it's important to know about truth and reconciliation. Every time I talk with students, I always bring the TRC 94 calls to action. What the truth and reconciliation is. What is written in the truth and reconciliation is written because some of it, at the time of treaties, we didn't know a word of English. And the agreement that we put in our language with our interpreters is never recorded or documented. But we know through the ancestor stories, and like my great-grandfather from my mother's side, he took part in the Treaty 7. That Truth and Reconciliation booklet was created. Some of the words were spoken back in 1877. Now it is put in writing to use as a guidebook, to help, to build a relationship, to work together. Because what happened in the past, we don't want that to happen again. So we use that booklet as a guide to build the relationship, to have a better future for our next generation. We as Indigenous people, our intent is to build on, work together for the future, because we are part of a future building group to work together to see that the next generation don't go through what our ancestors went through. If we work together with the schools, divisional schools, we can make it happen. So I encourage students to read that or ask their parents how they feel about it. It's about building relationship and to use as a guidebook.
Thank you, Virgil. And one of the steps, and that just really leads us into the importance of empowering our youth. And we have taken a number of steps in Canadian Rockies public schools to do that. Everything from involving students in a number of actions. So we have a survey that's called Your Voice Matters, where we actually engage all of our students in a survey that identifies strengths in the schools, areas for growth, barriers that our students face, supports that are required, and how they want to see celebrations performed in their schools. And this is used to set directions for schools, and it's really paid attention to by all school administrators and teachers in order to move things forward for students. And we know that, and the students can actually see the direct results of what is asked for and how that moves forward. And there is a clear voice in like student councils and parent councils too as well. And we want students to be strong advocates for how we can move forward, because as Virgil was saying, they truly are the future and they are part of building that relationship. So they are leading the way, and we're providing all the supports in place in order to move that forward. Now, as we have in the 2 short years of really having divisional knowledge keepers, what we've done is we've made sure to have some very clear structures in place. And what has happened with that is we have used the knowledge keepers to guide us in all of our protocols. So they are our stewards and with all of the protocols. So we definitely seek their guidance in every aspect. And as mentioned, whenever we go into every school, there's always an offering of gift of tobacco. And each session that our knowledge keepers are involved in, it's very interactive with students. And this is to build comfort and a learning experience. And the knowledge keepers are very quick to explain that it works both ways. The students learn from them, but they learn from the students. And we want that reciprocal relationship to work both ways. And the sessions with the knowledge keepers vary in time frame from 20 minutes to an hour based upon the age of the students. And also they're always aligned with the curriculum. And of course, it's based upon the needs of the students too as well. Moving forward too as well, the future opportunities. As a team, we meet regularly. We meet once every, is it about 3 months? Yeah. So we meet once every 3 months and we talk about part of our agenda. It's always co-created together, is we talk about what's going well, what we need to really work on to move the focus even further, and what are upcoming kind of projects that we really want to focus on. And we also have meetings with administrators, central office personnel, as well as board members, staffs, professional learnings with staff. Let's see, there's school meetings we've been at, parent council meetings we've been at. So definitely, I think what we can speak about is there's a lot of communication to move everything forward. And I think that's kind of one of the keys. And then when we're talking about, if you're truly looking at change across the system, you'll see the picture on your screen right now. The knowledge keepers actually guided us through putting up a teepee. So this is all the administrators, central board office staff, and a number of board members in our district on our opening day. And they instructed us how to put up a teepee and shared stories of how to do this. So it was a really unifying journey that we did together. And so when you're looking at building reconciliation, it's always about the relationships. And that's what we need to be doing.
And the TP was, we cut the TP out with the high school students and they help us sew it together.
Yeah, and I think
Right
that
at the school there, yes.
And it's always about involving students all along the way. So every project that we've spoken about is always about involving students. And that's when we're thinking about projects, it's about students. How can the students be involved? How can staff be involved? And how can we have learning across everybody? So Board of Trustees, senior administration, parent councils, and the school level. So we really want to make that happen. And this number is now incorrect of the Knowledge Keeper requests. We're over 170 Knowledge Keeper requests. So how that happens is all of the Knowledge Keeper requests actually come in to me. So for this year only, there's been over 170 Knowledge Keeper requests throughout our division. So we're a small school division. We have Alpenglow School, Elizabeth Rummel School, Extra School, 2 schools in Banff, and 3 schools in Canmore. So we're small, and for that number of Knowledge Keeper requests, we're really breathing and living truth and reconciliation throughout the district and building those relationships. And these are our keys for really walking together in kinship. And I think I can't oversay this one. Relationship is key. Listening more than talking, and I think today I've talked more than I've listened, but normally it's the other way around of just really listening to really learn. Ongoing communication, really looking at structures within school level, divisional level. We are really fortunate at Canadian Rockies. We have a superintendent who is very passionate about truth and reconciliation and really a firm believer in how we can enact bringing foundational knowledge for First Nation, Métis, and Inuit alive in each of our buildings. And he is a huge champion of it. And we're very fortunate to have that happen from our leadership.
Our Heroes Project.
Yeah, and we have actually, we've had a project Virgil was just speaking about that actually as national. We had a Heroes Project that actually the Governor General of Canada recognized. It's called the Hero Project, which if anybody wants to hear more about, we could definitely speak about that. It actually explored family kinship and lines all throughout community, and it brought in many elders and knowledge keepers throughout Manipni community, and it was an art project on top of it. It was a phenomenal project. And looking at long-range planning with school and being really mindful of how you can bring all of these structures alive in each of the buildings. Madison, tell me what you would like to hear about the Heroes Project. We could actually talk to you about that and how to set that up. I could put my contact information and we could share specific details about that with you. I can put that in the chat, my email address, or unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, it just sounds really interesting and I would love to learn more. If you have anything to share, if you don't want to share here, absolutely. I'd be more than willing to have a quick phone call with you as well, Nadine. Thank you.
Yes, by all means, because it's quite extensive, and connecting with knowledge keepers and elders in community is extremely important, and being able to track. So if you have, yeah, I will give you my email just in the chat right now, just so that we can talk about this. Otherwise, we could have a whole webinar just on this. So feel free, and we can definitely connect about that. So looking at clear policies, that's very important too as well. Just making sure that at all times that it's very clearly communicated out to community for all of your policies in regards to, for example, smudging. Looking at always getting input from the people who are the true knowledge keepers, and that's key. When you're curious about something, asking. Who would be comfortable speaking about graduation ceremonies at the high school? Okay.
Okay, how, last year, Kenmore Collegiate graduate, we worked together, and with our Indigenous way of celebrating or honoring our people who complete or their achievements. And we did perform a little differently from the original one.
Mm-hmm.
And even the citizens of Kenmore, they liked it. So this year we're going to be doing the same thing again to make everybody feel welcome. That is our way of working. If we want to build a relationship, we have to make everybody feel welcome. And this year, our community graduate will be 13. I think that's the most in recent years, which is very good. What we're doing shows us that it's working. We support our community members, not just our community members, not just our students. We support the staff too, willing to work. And here Nadine says he's talking a little much, but he's telling you what he has learned, sharing what he has learned through us. Oh, thank you.
Well, Virgil isn't sharing all that how they really did re-envision it. So I need to give them a whole bunch of credit with how the re-envisioning happened, because a traditional graduation ceremony is, people are sitting all in rows. They re-envisioned it to have a circular, very much a circle of courage type. So it was very inclusive and the most welcoming graduation ceremony I've ever been at. There was an opportunity for multiple entrances where there was a smudging opportunity for people to enter in. It was wonderful.
It was a highlight. It was a highlight. It was the highlight of the right after for the whole year, and everybody's looking forward to next week's graduation. They're going to be there, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be packed. Yes,
exactly, and that's it.
Like, no, we're making a difference to better the school and the community and all the support that we have put in, and the school board and the teachers for believing in us and trusting us, for working towards truth and reconciliation.
And it's beautiful. Like the teepee is put up and all of the students take their picture out there. And when I say all of the students, I mean all of the students. Yes, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, family photos are taken. out there. Like, it is a beautiful ceremony.
And a lot of community members, a lot of parents came from our community.
Leadership.
And the leadership from our community, they heard about, they support us too. So they were there at the graduation to support the students on it. That's really, we could see that we're really making progress. And that was really, it felt good that we were really helping.
Ishnish. Now that actually brings us to the end of our presentation. If there are any questions for our wonderful knowledge keepers, because as Virgil said, I talked more than I normally talk.
Yes, learned a lot. Of course, she helped us make this presentation.
Well,
Work together.
it is, the knowledge keepers are just a wonderful source of guidance and knowledge, and they have been able to just spearhead so many things throughout our division, and the collaboration and the relationship is so strong, and it just continues to grow.
Yeah, and it all started from volunteer work we did for a long time at the school. And when Nadine was principal there, we were, and before that too. That's where our adult students, that's where they went, and then they came to Canmore, and that's where they graduated. And now we have our grandchildren going to that school, and I'm pretty sure one or two are going to graduate. So we've come a long ways with the school and for helping. We've done a lot of volunteer work before with the teachers, and after school, there used to be an after school program with, so I had to, with the students from the community, I wait for them, and I used to take them home on my own, and I can, we did a lot of work like that. And through that, this is where we're at now, and we're still moving on. Yes.
Any last words, Virgil?
Yeah. Building relationship, partnership, hearing each other. If you want to be heard, you have to hear them too. So let's work together. If we work together, we can better our relationship. Education is important, the importance of education. Right now, our communities, we need support. We need support. We have to help each other. We're young people. I just want to say that. Thank you.
That's within our community, a lot. Like we said, we've gone through a lot of stuff before that's happened, and right now in our community, the community school, about 98% of the students are in care with family or grandparents, and most of those young students that go to school there, the young children, are without parents. The father and the mothers, they're not here through drugs and alcohol. So now we help over there too. So that's where we really need our help. And some of them come back from foster homes, and we just but we know that our late father has said that, and it can be accomplished. So we really believe in that. When you do some work, don't give up, continue. You can overcome and accomplish. accomplish a good, a positive thing out of it. So that's what we're doing here in SNES.
Hi, yeah, we just continue our teachings. Our parents have always tell us, just continue, learn what you can, and help the ones that don't, and help the unfortunate ones. And that's what, and we still do that in the community too. So I'm proud of it. I'm proud that what we're doing. And just like to share something with you. With my, as a little girl myself, when I went to Morley School, we were telling each other as girls, what are you going to be when you grow up? What are you going to do when you grow up? And then I used to tell them, when I grow up, when I have grandkids, if the grandkids go to school, I'm going to be working with the school. And not knowing that has happened. So I'm just continue what we're doing, because that's what we need to do. Yes.
And that concludes our part of the presentation. Ishnish.
Oh, I just want to express gratitude to each of you. Tracey and Philomene, Virgil. I felt Ollie's presence also, Nadine. What a gift to be able to learn and from you, and to catch a bit of a glimpse into the story of your work together. And I just really loved being able to see you also together and see you sitting together. And what we would just invite people to do is to, in your own way and time, just invite you to sit with what has been shared. And perhaps to do that in the company of a place that you love. And also to consider how you might put one thing that you learned today into action. And I'm thinking about that also, in the gift of being able to sit with you and have this time. And I'd like to invite Crystal.
Excuse me. Ishnish as well, Philomene, Tracey, Virgil, Nadine, and Diane for connecting all of us together. I offer my gratitude for you sharing and for taking time to share with us today and on a larger platform virtually. Ishnish for being a part of the circle with us. I'm not sure if you could see me, but behind me, I tried to put, I'm just going to move my head out of the way. Okay, there it is. So what you see behind me is it's a beautiful birch bark beaded medallion, which you can use in whichever way you feel inclined to use, as a keychain, as a necklace, hang it off your rearview mirror. Protocol was offered to a good friend of mine, Shaida Chance. Actually worked with her when she was a student many years ago. She's from Ochis First Nation. And when I described the work that we were doing with CAS and to support teachers and leaders in their journey to relationship with us as Indigenous people, and that we were honoring the birch tree as a way of connecting us and bringing us together in relationship. And I described the visuals that were created to help us bring us back to the land together. She designed this beautiful piece. The birch is harvested from her backyard on the Ochis Reserve, and she too offered protocol to the tree and thanks for what it was providing for her and for all those who will receive it. And so in the spirit of the birch tree and the leaves that are helping us connect to each other in a good way through the College of Alberta School Superintendent work they're doing to support educational leaders and in relationship with community, Indigenous community. These will be gifted to each and every one of you in a good way. You'll be receiving them from Diane, and as well, we'd also like to honor Rogan as well, Rogan Harper, who has been with us through all of these webinars. We've done 3 now. This is the final one of this year, working with school districts and knowledge keepers from across the province. So Rogan has been our tech support and keeping it all together, making sure everything flows so that our stories and what you shared today won't just stop here, but will be now shared across digital platforms as well and through a summary. So thank you as well, Rogan. And again, Nadine, Virgil, Tracey, and Philomene. And regards as well to Ollie, who we'd also like to gift one of these beautiful medallions made by Shaida as well. Ishnish, for your time.
Ishnius, and that brings us to a close. So we just hope you have safe travels home and returning to your families, and that the animal spirits are safe on your travels home as well.